Meet the guys creating havoc.
It was weird. Our first question is, what goes into predicting a snow day and what impacts the percentages?
Wow, that's a loaded one. What goes into predicting a snow day? Well, the first ingredient to predicting a snow day, obviously, is snow. So if we don't have snow, we're not going to have a snow day. There are some other ingredients, potentially, like ice and sleet and freezing rain. So all those hazardous weather types have to be forecast to occur. And obviously it has to be over the Hudson Valley and the Catskills and, where we all live basically. And, a large part of it goes into the geography, the local, the lay of the land in the Hudson Valley and the Catskills, as, we're bordered by mountain ranges on either side. And then in the middle, we have a valley, so lower elevations. And when you have distinct terrain or differing terrain, that can lead to different temperatures. And that is kind of what drives some of the time the different percentages school by school for a delay or a closing. And then obviously there's also local tendencies. So certain superintendents are more prone to predict and call snow days, believe it or not. We've known from our friends in Pine Bush that they had a bit of trouble last year with calling a particular snow day. But you guys in Wallkill have a pretty good track record. So overall, I think, you guys call. I mean, maybe you have a different opinion.
What made you start predicting like the snow days here in the Hudson Valley?
Well, if you guys don't know, maybe a little bit more about me is that, I grew up in the Hudson Valley in Montgomery. I was born in Westchester County, and we moved to the Hudson Valley when I was quite young, just a few years old. So the Hudson Valley, that's my roots. That's where I'm from. Even though I'm in New Zealand now, 8,000 plus miles away. The Hudson Valley, that's my home. So you got to represent, wherever you go. So yeah, I mean, as I went through school, it became very evident early on that I had a passion for weather. The one particular snowstorm that I remember that kind of defined my pathway forward, if you will, was a blizzard in 1996. And you guys are probably too young to remember that, as I date myself just a little bit. But that was one that really stuck with me. And it was that love of snow that kind of catapulted me into predicting snowstorms, probably at the middle school time period. And then as I went into high school is when I started to really get into it. And I went to Valley Central. So I was kind of known, it was a much, much lower key. I mean, social media really wasn't even a thing back. I mean, it was becoming a thing, but it wasn't really a thing back then as it is now. So I started predicting it in high school, then came college, and there was this continued interest. Well, I'm going to college, you can't just stop predicting our snow days, right? Like, come on. So yeah, I went to SUNY Oswego, which is about 4 hours away in upstate New York, Oswego County, northwest of Syracuse. And they get a tremendous amount of snow up there, over 120 inches on average per year. So it's a fantastic place to kind of observe the snow, if you like snow like me. And so I continued to make snow day predictions there. I had a website at that point. And then once I was a junior at Oswego, I got an internship at AccuWeather.com. Some of you guys might have that app. Be careful with apps, maybe more on that later. But I got an internship at AccuWeather. So that allowed me to really grow my professional abilities in the weather forecasting space. Maybe when I was in high school, I was like looking at websites, maybe like a lot of people do, or looking at apps and kind of collating them or combining them to come up with a forecast idea. But once, you branch into this professional space, you really I don't look at apps. I don't really look at websites that much. I look at weather models and satellites and radars to, make my predictions. So it's very much kind of next level in that sense. So yeah, went to AccuWeather, did an internship, went back for my senior year at Oswego, and then I got offered a full-time job at AccuWeather. That was in 2013, which is when I graduated Oswego. So, I mean, if you get a job, fast forward, worked at AccuWeather for 2 years. And then in 2015, I got this email from an old professor at from Oswego, and he had moved to New Zealand to work for this company that's under the Crown in the government. And he's like, oh, there's a couple job openings here. And, I'm just kind of passing this along to my former students to see if anyone's interested. I mean, I'm sure most people kind of ignored it, like New Zealand, 8,000 miles away. You got to pack up, leave everything behind, your family, your friends. But, I thought it was a very unique opportunity. And it was, a couple interviews, phone interviews, Skype interviews. And, next thing, came to the next, and I was offered a job. Like, I mean, I was like, holy smokes, now I have to make this huge decision. It kind of felt like LeBron James and the decision, where am I going to go? So, I talked to the parents and friends and that, and figured that it was kind of once in a lifetime. Like, you can't pass that stuff up. So, here I am today in New Zealand. That's just a long-winded way of answering your question of how do you predict snow days.
Does someone else want to ask that for Nate?
Yeah. A little bit about my real job, as I do have a real job other than making tweets. I work for the Crown, the New Zealand government, the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research. That's NIWA, NIWA. It is an organization that has a broad range of sciences within, basically, and experts in fields like fisheries, air quality, weather forecasting and modeling, climate, and much more. And I sit in that weather and climate space within the company. A company of about 600 odd people, maybe nationwide in New Zealand, a lot of offices around the country. I sit in the Auckland office, which is in the northern part of New Zealand, where we do not see snow. I work most normal hours, maybe 8 to 4 on most days, which conflicts a little bit with predicting snow days, because 8 to 4 coincides with, depending on the time of year, will coincide with about 2 p.m. U.S. to 10 p.m. U.S., which is the time that, most people in the U.S. are active, but I'm, working a full-time job. So my lunch break is at about 6 p.m., which is oftentimes a peak in my tweets when there's snow. So that's what I do on a regular basis.
You were famous in the Hudson Valley. You hit it big.
Oh, look, I mean, I don't like to use the word famous. I mean, I think I'm pretty well known at this point, but I'm not necessarily one for the bright lights. Like I like to stay kind of low key. But that said, I think once you start seeing, my parents tell me they've seen some people like wearing my like shirts and sweatshirts like out in public. I mean, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty surreal. Valley Central on the 24th of October had like this Ben Noll day. Like, I mean, that's awesome. Like, I mean, but at the same time, it's just a bit surreal. It's a bit, I mean, I certainly endorse it and I support it, and it feels awesome. But yeah, I'm just here to help. That's kind of my motto. Like, I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy kind of helping you guys out. I mean, who doesn't like it?
So what was your biggest snow day fail? Like, if you've had one?
Oh, look, nobody's perfect. And, as I talk to a lot of different people, they're like, oh, Ben Noll, he's never wrong. I'm like, what? Never wrong? I mean, come on, we're meteorologists here, we're not going to go up there. Just like you don't expect a baseball player to go up there and get a hit every single time, a basketball player to make every shot, and, the lawyer to win every case. You're going to be wrong from time to time. I must say, in the last year or two, we've been doing pretty darn well. So I'm riding this kind of hot streak, if you will. As we know, all the good things must come to an end at some point. So something's bound to happen, but we haven't gotten there yet. So biggest fail, I would say, man, if you have to go back a couple years, maybe it was 4 years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago. One thing in meteorology that's really hard to predict is warm fronts. There's a common saying in the weather business: never trust a warm front. Warm fronts are these kind of nebulous features in the atmosphere that divide warm air and cold air. And when you're dealing with nebulous features in the atmosphere, kind of weak disturbances, those are the toughest one to predict. The big storms, believe it or not, are the easiest ones to pick, because the weather models we use can really grasp on and see these big storms. They're on satellite, they're on radar, they're getting sampled by aircraft, they're getting sampled by weather stations on the ground. So those big storms, those are actually easier to forecast than those little ones. So just a little warm front was tracking through the Hudson Valley, and when that happens in the winter, they can surprise in the direction that they produce more snow than you think, but they can also surprise in the other direction and forecast very little snow. And I think this one was a case where there was a forecast for maybe an inch, 2, 3 if you're lucky, and I think there was probably less than an inch, and it may not have stuck either. So I think there was then. I was lucky enough at that point where I'd had a lower following. I mean, it wasn't zero, but most people probably wouldn't remember that one unless I told you this.
So do you have any plans for like expansion? Like, there was like a rumors of like a Ben Noll app on Twitter.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Recently, I think it was Newberg actually that said that they were having a discussion in one of their classes about making some type of an app with with my name or my face or something on it like that. And I replied to it, and I haven't heard anything back about that. Now, I personally, I do have some, I do actually have some coding skills and some programming skills. However, making an app is a little bit outside of my personal skill set. So this is something where I'd actually really be interested in the potential for a crowdsource. Like, can we all make this happen? Like let Hudson Valley let's do this, or that's my assignment almost. Like, it would be sweet. Like if that could somehow be accomplished by the Hudson Valley. Like, I mean, we can all do it together. Like, we can all chip in. I'm sure there's, some really brilliant minds out there that would have some good ideas, in order to kind of execute something like that. I'm not sure how, the logistics or how the app would work. That would kind of be fleshed out or figure that out. But it's definitely like an open, put it out there, get the word on the street. Like, that would be really cool. I think a lot of people, local people in the Hudson Valley would probably download it and use it, hopefully. In terms of other expansion, I get a lot of requests from people that live kind of in adjacent areas. So like places like Rockland County, Westchester County, Putnam County, specifically, mostly to the south, which are still in the Hudson Valley, but maybe a little bit outside of my normal forecast zone. And kind of the challenge with that is actually fitting. See, most of the schools that I forecast for are in the same kind of forecast zone. So the forecast shouldn't differ too much from Wallkill to Monroe Woodbury. I mean, there may be subtle differences, and that's often why you see some subtle differences in percentages. However, once we start going from Wallkill to White Plains in Westchester County, or Wallkill to Albany to the north, there can be some vast differences. So kind of accounting for all of those differences in a singular tweet or a tweet or two is quite difficult. So I kind of struggle with that expansion bit to adjacent places because of that. I just simply don't have enough time. Like, I mean, I'm making these predictions at my lunch hour at work, and I gotta be quick and snappy, or my time is basically up. So I think that I'll probably keep the predictions relatively tight knit. So mostly for the schools that already exist. There may be, so I mean, I think the greatest place for expansion is either on the website, which is bennoll.com, or an app, which is an open invitation to anyone in the Hudson Valley who'd want to reach out or tackle that or do something cool.
Hey, Ben.
Hey.
Mr. Castle, I'm the superintendent of schools. So,
pleasure to meet you. I didn't know we were going to have a superintendent on the other side today, but that's all good.
I've been calling snow days since 2004, And actually, it was a little easier back then because I didn't have a cell phone and you didn't have all the apps. So
Yep.
you phone call from Fleet Weather. You familiar with Fleet Weather? So,
Yes, I am. Yep.
So they would call, and basically whatever they said is what you went with, because you didn't have anything else to go with. But now
Mm-hmm.
it's become a little bit more difficult because you got all these apps, and you're looking at AccuWeather, you're looking at Weather Channel and Hudson Valley Weather, and now of course you're a variable in this as well. But I got to share a story. So I don't know, it was either last year or year before. So I have 3 kids, 2 of which are in college. One currently is still in Walk Hill High School. So he would report out and say, well, Ben Noll says we're going to be closing. And I got to tell you, I would say, I don't care what Ben Noll says. What Fleet Weather tells me, and also the assistant superintendent for support services, he works with me in the morning. It starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. And we get the call, and we call the highway guys to find out what's going on. And then usually by 5:15, we make a decision. So I will tell you, my mindset has changed. Now I say, what's Ben Noll saying?
Oh, wow.
I will tell you, you were off the other day. We did not close for after-school activities, and you had, I think, at 65%. But as I said,
Okay, yeah. I'm not the fondest. That prediction, that was a very tough one. But yeah, continue.
I gotta tell you, I am impressed, and I know initially you were wreaking havoc on my life because anytime I walk through the buildings, they'd say Ben Noll says we're closing, and I'd say don't listen to Ben Noll. You figure it out. But now I actually I don't mind it, and I tell you, you did a great thing. Look at the kids want to interview you, so I know it's a tough job that you do, and you're doing it for free. And I got to tell you, I'm real appreciative of what you're doing with our kids because they're actually getting interested in weather, and they start looking at the weather maps and everything else. And it's exciting for kids, snow days, as you know, when you were younger. So thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate you giving the time for our students to interview you.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. That's a great story. And I'm happy I've turned you around a little bit over the years. and yeah, look, as you said, it gets the students excited. And as much as it is a weather thing, there's a bit of, an entertainment factor in there, kind of gets them a bit excited. And if it gets people interested in this field, which we need a lot, we need more people in this weather and climate space. This is, something that's only going to grow in time. When you think of things like climate change, we're really in this new frontier of weather forecasting. In my opinion, we're in this golden age. So it's a really good field to get into if you have a passion in it. So yeah, look, follow your passions, because if you can get, if you're excited about something and you can get, you can get other people excited about that same thing, then, you're doing a good thing. You're doing a good job. So that's kind of what, what I stand by. And I'm very happy that I'm able to get you guys all as excited about the weather as I am.
Could I add you to my call list in the morning?
that call time here in New Zealand might be a little bit early there, man.
Thanks again.